What's up, everybody? It's Steven from Right to Insight. Um, on my anti-vaxxer video, I received a YouTube comment by somebody named R Moon, kind of trying to open my eyes to some of the benefits. I guess I would say, of anti-vaccination, or like the anti-vaccination choice. And it's a very long comment that I decided that instead of responding to it with my own comment, I would go ahead and respond to it in form of a video. So, Armoon, if you're watching, this is actually a direct response to your comment. I'll be reading the comment and responding as I go along. I just also want to say, Armoon, that I do appreciate that you are polite and that you are actually trying to, give me helpful, constructive criticism, as opposed to, not that we've gotten any, but people who would just troll or whatever. We haven't gotten any trolls or anything yet, but I do appreciate that you have approached me in a polite manner, and I will respond to you with the same amount of respect that you gave me. So let's go ahead and get started then. So the first thing they state is, this is their quote, I want to start by saying I honestly think you are motivated by a desire to bring truth to others. You seem to genuinely believe everything you are saying and seem concerned for the well-being of others. Those are admirable qualities in a man, and I give you much respect for that, even if I see some of what you said differently. So I'll say that's true. I am definitely, my goal here is to actually bring what I believe to be true to others who might be on the fence or might not know at all about the issue in general. That is my intent. And I appreciate you saying that you think those are good qualities. I also find them to be good qualities. The next paragraph is, I wanted to correct some of your facts, not to say that you do not have a legitimate case to argue, but you should have the correct information to make your case. Measles has never been eliminated in the U.S. What you are most likely referring to is the fact that homegrown outbreaks were eliminated in 2000, but there were in fact still many cases that year and all years since. Those cases, as well as the cases this year and last year, are traced back to overseas cases brought back to the U.S. in many of the outbreaks over the past 15 years. An outbreak usually means 5 or more cases in an area. Fully vaccinated people brought back the illness from overseas, or vaccinated/unvaccinated people from overseas brought it here. Okay, so in my video, I wasn't very specific. I'll admit that. But what I did say was a direct quote from another article that I read, that measles was deemed eliminated in America. And I believe that does mean that measles that originates in America was eliminated. And I think that we can thank vaccines for that. I don't think anybody's really, I'm sure there are people, but any logical person isn't arguing that it's not vaccines to thank for that. There's nothing else to thank for it. It's definitely obviously vaccines that has eliminated homegrown measles outbreaks in America. So, but that's essentially what I meant, is that measles that originate in America were eliminated. They were deemed eliminated. Sure, they came from overseas, and that's all the more reason to continue vaccinating your children, is because there are threats from overseas that can come here and get in the way. So, anyway, I'll continue with what this person said. Also, you should know that many people who question the safety and efficacy of some vaccines do not do so based on ignorance. Sure, some people do not educate themselves and could not read an actual scientific study to save their lives, but many parents have changed their views on vaccines due to real research and experiences. Okay, and I agree with that. I think that there are plenty of people who have changed their mind based on stuff that they've read that seems to be legitimate or seems to be, a decent argument. But what I'm going to say in response to that is I think that is still ignorance, because I think if you do actual research that's unbiased, if you actually instead of looking for the answers you want, you look for the actual answers, I think you're going to find that vaccines actually come back in the positive every time. I've never seen a decent argument to the contrary. I've never seen any scientific papers that say otherwise. And I don't think that any decent person has any reason to believe that there is a reason to think that vaccines are going to be harmful or the risks outweigh the benefits. I don't think that any logical person would ever come to that conclusion given the actual evidence. If you do come to that conclusion, you're either still just ignorant, you've refused, or just aren't able to accept these facts, or you're intellectually dishonest. That's my opinion. I think that's to me, that's still ignorance. I think that that's still ignorance. Even if you come to the conclusion by doing research, that doesn't mean you know any more about the subject. That means that you could have done totally biased research. Anyway, so this next one's going to be a long paragraph. This is for them. As for the link between autism and vaccines, that issue is so complex that it is hard to debate properly unless both parties have done the same research. I disagree. I just don't agree with that. I don't think that both parties need to do the same research to be able to debate. By that, I mean if one claims vaccines cause autism, period, well, that seems like an unlikely reality since most children get vaccines and do not develop autism, and I agree with that. But just because vaccines do not cause autism in all children, and some children with autism did not have a vaccine reaction, logically speaking, that does not mean that some children vaccine damage. There's a typo here. Oh, okay, I see what they're saying. Logically speaking, that does not mean that for some children, vaccine damage did not cause or contribute to their neurological condition, be it autism or something else. Yes, but it also doesn't mean that it did. I mean, how do you draw the connection? There's no evidence that draws the connection. And I know that you're going to address this later on in your comment. I'm going to get to that. But I'm addressing things as I go along. And what you're saying here is there's people who have autism that it wasn't a reaction to a vaccine. There's people that have autism that did get vaccinated. And then you're saying that there can be some children that had vaccine and did get autism as a reaction to that. Well, I'm asking where the connection's drawn. Where is the scientific evidence that shows this? Because I've yet to see it. And if you have an article or something, you can feel free to share it anywhere, and I'll happily read it. But I've not seen anything. And I mean, every time I see stuff like this, it's always just claims being made. I've never seen any actual evidence. And I know that there has been papers put out, but they are almost always... the ones that I've heard of have been proven to be false. So, I mean, that's just my question there is where's the connection? And when you do, say the connection, where's the evidence? Where's the, whatever article led you to that conclusion? You have to be able to link that. Anyway, so medicine, for all it can tell us, is still so ignorant to what causes what or how to treat and cure illnesses. We have come to believe that medical science has all the answers, and sadly, it still has more questions than answers. I'm going to disagree there. I don't think that a logical person thinks that medical science has all the answers. The point is that we have the best known answers that we have discovered so far. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having what works now. We know that vaccines work. We know that they prevent these illnesses. That's why measles stopped sprouting up in America. I mean, there's so many different illnesses that vaccinations have prevented, and it's just so obvious if you look at a chart of the growth of these illnesses. Look at measles, and then when the vaccine came out, the drop that measles took. I mean, it literally stopped coming around in America from America. So, I mean, that's all you have to look at to know vaccines work. And so that's what we're going on. We're not saying that medical science has all the answers. We're saying that this works and it needs to be utilized to protect people, especially children. So I'll disagree with you there. And I'm quoting them again. With that said, we know for a fact that we know for a fact that at least in a few dozen cases, vaccines did in fact trigger autism or autism-like symptoms, if you will. Again, I ask, where's the evidence of that? You made a claim. You have to provide the evidence. These cases have been studied and tried in vaccine injury courts. It is extremely hard to prove vaccine injury, hence as the court rules that a child was in fact injured by a vaccine, we can be fairly sure that the verdict is correct. I disagree. I don't think that just because the court proved that, I mean, I don't even think it was proven. If it was proven, it would be all over the place. This would be everywhere, and it's not. So if this was the case, and if it was scientifically proven in the court, then it would be everywhere, and I have not found anything. So again, I ask, I need the evidence. You have to give me the evidence. In most, if not all of those cases, the children involved have genetic/cellular disorders, mitochondrial dysfunction, for example. This creates a bit of a conundrum for medical science. They know that most children will not develop autism or autism-like symptoms just from vaccines, but some unknown number, possibly very small, will in fact have an adverse reaction causing neurological damage resulting in permanent damage, including autism. Okay. So to that, I'm going to say that it is not the vaccines that's causing autism. It's vaccines, and this is a given. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm giving you this, and so I can come to this with you. We can be on the same level here, and then I can still provide a decent argument in favor of vaccinations. If what you're saying is that there's situations where kids will have pre-existing problems like mitochondrial dysfunction, and then they get vaccines, and that vaccine triggers a neurological condition like autism, then it's not the vaccine that's doing it. It's the pre-existing condition coupled with the vaccination, which is a totally separate thing. It's a standalone issue. That needs to be examined in and of itself, totally secluded from just regular vaccinations. It's not even the same thing, and it's not even worth putting like on the same level. It needs to be... If that's true, if what you're saying is true, then people need to be tested for this mitochondrial dysfunction or whatever other issues might cause the vaccine to trigger these neurological conditions. And then you decide how to vaccinate or what steps you're going to take next. It doesn't need to just be, let's get rid of vaccinations altogether. Okay, so then they went on to say, but if you admit that and list that as a possible side effect, who will vaccinate their child with that vaccine? What would be the larger implications and consequences? Tough position to be in when you consider the harm that not vaccinating may cause. Okay, and I understand, and I even kind of agree with you that yes, if you listed that as a possible side effect, you know, might cause autism or whatever, then maybe a lot of other people would choose to not vaccinate. But you have to also understand that it's not just the vaccination that's doing it. It's a pre-existing issue coupled with the vaccination. If you don't have the pre-existing issue, what do you have to fear? And I would say that I would definitely still go to vaccinate my children, because some of these illnesses that you can get from not vaccinating can cause death, which I'm sorry is worse than autism. If my child was autistic, that would be a misfortunate. If my child died, that would be a fucking tragedy. So yeah, I would still vaccinate my child. Okay, so then we're getting toward the end here. I know this is a long video, and I apologize. But then they said, I want to stress that the choice to vaccinate or not vaccinate should not be easily dismissed as foolish. It is not logistically easy to delay or opt out of even one vaccine. It's not easy to even consider taking the risk of not vaccinating your precious child, thus possibly putting them at risk for preventable diseases. They put preventable in quotes. I'm not sure why, because the diseases are preventable. But, well, then they go on to say nothing is 100% preventable, hence the quotation marks. Now I feel like an idiot. But yeah, I agree. Nothing is 100% preventable. Even people with vaccines sometimes get these things. It's just not likely. Anyway. So yeah, I agree with that in a sense. But I would say that still I think the quotations are unneeded, because for all intents and purposes it essentially is preventable. Then they said, I should know. After my eldest son being fully vaccinated on schedule and my youngest being fully vaccinated on schedule until he was 3, by then he was about 90% done, we were able to determine that the vaccine reaction he had when he was 12 months had in fact caused permanent damage to both his brain and systematically through his body. I was devastated. Turns out, after years of additional research, we were able to determine through genetic testing that he had a genetic condition at the cellular level. I hope you can respectfully understand that people who are complex anti-vax and do not even understand, I hope you can respectfully understand that people who are completely anti-vax and do not even understand the real reasons are not the same as those of us that are begging for better testing and research, as well as possible screening tests or tools to identify children who are most likely to react. Once your child has a moderate or severe vaccine reaction, it's too late. That fear is very real, as is the fear of the illnesses themselves. And I apologize that your child had this issue. Again, I want to stress that it wasn't just the vaccine. If you had another child, I would still recommend vaccinating, because your other child turned out fine, if I'm not mistaken. And now those illnesses, if he ever were to come into contact with somebody who had measles, he would be protected. And that could be a huge issue if he wasn't. And just as huge as an issue, if not more so, than the issue with your other child, which is very unfortunate, and I apologize. But again, I want to say that it wasn't just the vaccine that caused it, and you even admitted that. It was the vaccine mixed with the disorder he had on the cellular level, as you said. And I agree that we do need to research things like this. We do need to look into things like this. If what you say is true, then there should be evidence of it, and you need to provide it. I'm not saying that it's actually false. I'm saying that I need to have a reason to believe you, and I can't just believe things I hear at face value. I would believe any number of things if I could just believe anything anyone said, and that's just not how I operate. If this is true, and even if it isn't, it's definitely worth looking into for preventing future issues like this. I don't think that medical science has all the answers, and I never would ever claim that it does. Even in the even 20 years from now, medical science is not going to have all the answers. There's always going to be questions, and there's always going to be things that need answers, and there might even be things we'll never find the answer to, and that's unfortunate. What we need to do is we need to go on what we know, and what we know, again, is that vaccines work. And if they do cause an issue like this, it's rare, and it's absolutely rare. And why do we have to even pay special attention to it? If you think about modern medicine that's not vaccines, just regular medicine that's prescribed all the time, listen to the side effects that they list. Some of them include like internal bleeding or death. I mean, we don't just outlaw these medications because of this. We list these as possible side effects because we know that these are possible side effects, and we continue to push the medicine because it works. The same should be done with vaccines if it is proven that they do cause autism, which I don't believe that they do. There's a little bit more here. I do not have all the answers, nor do I claim to. But as a loving, educated mother with a vaccine-injured child, I ask that you consider there may be more to the truth than what mainstream medicine or mainstream media tells us. At the very least, please consider that this may not be as black and white an issue as it seems. Keep sharing what you know and allowing dialogue. So, I mean, the end was just kind of a wrap-up, and I never denied that. I never said it was just a totally black and white issue. I never even made that claim even once. What I'm saying is that we know vaccines work, and if they cause autism, it's in a very, very small number of individuals who get vaccinated. We don't need to just stop vaccinating children because of this. I'm sorry, and it's unfortunate for people who, if this happens, and it does happen because of vaccines, that's very unfortunate, and I would never wish that on anyone. But vaccines have saved lives. You need to understand that. Why would we stop vaccinating just because of this? If what you said is true, then yes, we should continue testing and finding better ways to discover what disorders can trigger when coupled with a vaccination autism. But other than that, we need to keep vaccinating these children. And everybody, I mean, I would definitely condone everybody get vaccinated. I mean, it's the fucking right. It's just the right thing to do. It makes sense. It's responsible, and you know, to me, it's just the logical choice. So that's the entirety of their comment and my response. Thanks for watching if you watched. If you want to read their original comment, just go to the anti-vax video. I'll go ahead and link it in this one, or I'll just actually throw up a annotation. You can click the screen at any time, and it'll take you to that video, and you can read their comment. And I do want to also say one more thing. That video, the anti-vaxxer video, was one of the first videos I did on this channel, and you'll notice it's a very short video. It's because I was still kind of getting back into the groove of making videos. And so it was difficult to express myself fully. And so it's become a lot easier now. So I didn't cover everything that I felt about anti-vaccines and vaccines in general, medical science. I didn't cover everything that I felt about it. So that's why I made this rebuttal video, to better explain my position. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys.